Howdy, howdy, howdy. How are y'all doing? Welcome aboard. Happy Labor Day to everyone, and welcome to Cliff Notes Live. I'm glad to see y'all out there. All right, here's the thing. I'm a couple of minutes late because just as I got ready to do my turn the show on and get going, I realized I was wearing a green shirt. And green shirts and green screens don't always work so well. I realized I was just a little bouncing head in the middle of the screen. Figured it'd be a little bit disconcerting, if not to y'all, to me. So I had to make a real quick costume change. Always have my Aggie gear. Over here. Always have my Aggie gear sitting around. Hope y'all are doing fantastic. Welcome aboard. As I said, a good Labor Day to y'all. Hope y'all have enjoyed. For those of you who get it, I hope y'all have enjoyed a nice long 3-day weekend. I know I certainly have. My kids were both in town. So the whole family went and ate dinner today and had a blast doing it. Got me some good old Mexican food. Love that stuff. So we had fun. I hope y'all did as well. Let me start off as I always do with a big old SKD 143. Love my wife. Love my kids. Love reality TV. Especially love Big Brother reality TV. And especially love those of you who are out here every Monday with me. Those of you who are watching live. Those of you who watch on replay as well. To all of y'all, thank you so much. I certainly appreciate it. Kind of like just hanging out with a bunch of friends on these Monday evenings. So thank you for that. All right, let's see who's out here. And I got a special little call out if I could as well. Karen Berkey there. Marilyn Sutherland. Patty. Hey, Patty. Brian, how are you? Terry Thomas. Cliff Notes from Cliff Hog. Oh, that's me. Ah, okay. I don't always make comments out there. It took a second to recognize it. I didn't realize this is the way it posts, but okay. Jake the Horror Movie Geek. Hey, Jake. Fix these glasses. Nelly as well. Cindy, hi. Hey, Cindy, how are you? Rock, Paula Scar, Ma. Hey, Ma. Kate Russell, Mark Taylor, Renee. Let me try this. Renee Altulakowski. How'd that do? Close enough? I bet you'll accept close enough. That's tough. All right. Let's see. Who else do I have out here? Angie Hung as well. I think I may have said that, but Angie, you deserve twice. Kiki, Anthony Stike, Michelle Moore, Andy W, Karen Ventura, Frankie P, Joanne, Fred Benson, Annie Berger, and #.ch. I sound like Jimmy Fallon sometimes reading out some of these names and everything. Elisha as well, Holly A, and Bing Bong, Barbara McGee. Let's see, Laura B, Mary Tedeschi, Annie Berger, Margaret Godden. Going through these quick, those guys. Jan Doe and Monica Baca. We'll call it right. And Karen Say. I'm not going to leave you out either, Karen. Welcome aboard to all of y'all. It's so cool. I see so many names I recognize, and special seeing y'all out there, but also seeing the new names, and that's important as well. Welcome to y'all also. Now, I mentioned I want to do a quick shout out, and then we're going to talk all Big Brother. We're not going to do this all that long, but I wanted to give a special shout out. As some of you who were here last Monday know, I mentioned a link to Give Kids the World. Hearts of Reality is a special fundraiser that supports Give Kids the World Village over in Orlando, an amazing charity. Help kids that are critically ill spend a week in Orlando with their families for no cost whatsoever. They get to stay in a special location. Cool. I'm going to show y'all pictures one of these days of where they stay. It's a really cool hotel kind of area, village that they stay at. Free everything to all the theme parks and all that. Incredible charity. I participated last year. I'm doing it again this year. I mentioned the link last week. I've posted it up at the very top this week. So if any of y'all are able to and willing to donate, it is certainly appreciated. Obviously, it's certainly appreciated. But I wanted to give a special shout out to some of y'all who donated last week because it means so much to me. So Tony Dillon, Angie Hung, Chad Slate, Ricky Perez all donated after the after my show on Monday. And thank you. I love y'all all. It meant so much to see those come out there. And there's also a lot of anonymous donors. I had a lot of anonymous donors that were donating as well. And that means so much as well. Guys, thank you. Because I know how much it means to these kids, not just the kids. When I was out there, I love seeing the kids smiling and all that. But you know what I really liked? I like seeing the parents smiling because I know that they see their kids feel so helpless to help them. Seeing their kids smiling was making those parents smile so much. And that it hit home as a fellow parent. So thank y'all so much. It means a lot to me. And again, the link is up at the very top. If you're able to, donations always appreciated. All right, with all that being said, anyone been watching a little Big Brother here over the last week? I've been watching a lot. Once the Big Brother season's over, it's gonna be like withdrawal for me. When it was my own season, it was like that. It's gonna be like that, just staying up watching these live feeds, especially this season. Big Brother, when we were in the house, they woke us up every 8, 9, 10 o'clock, depending on what was going on that day. But you could set a clock to when they would wake us up. And we all had to get up, except Kat Dunn. For some reason, she had a little special exemption. She always seemed to manage to figure out how to sleep in. The rest of us, we were up. Of course, I was up with my coffee anyway, but they didn't let us sleep in. This season, these house guests, I guess Big Brother Productions has just decided that, yeah, if you want to stay up till 6 o'clock in the morning talking strategy or whatever else you want to talk about, we'll let you sleep till noon or so. I think today they weren't up till 12:30 or so. I mean, maybe that's Houston time. Anyway, they let them sleep late. It blows me away how late they get to stay up, or how late they get to sleep in, which means they stay up all night as well. It's been a lot of fun, though. It's been incredible. All right, so let's see what we've got on here. A couple of things, a couple of questions as we go in first. Mark Taylor, who's your pick for most valuable player? Gosh, Mark, it kind of has to be Michael, right? But I guess it depends. Most valuable or favorite, and I'll do two of them on that, because most valuable player, it's got to be Michael. I mean, he's dominated, right? And he's also played a pretty good game strategically. Now, I think he may have won one or two of these competitions when he maybe didn't need to, and it put a little bit more of a target on his back and all that. But if I'm a voter, it would be tough not to give it to Michael in terms of the best Big Brother player at the end. So I'll give that. In terms of my favorite, such as America's favorite house guest type voting at the end, there's a couple of them in there, but I maybe would have to go with Turner right now. Part of it's because I think he's playing a pretty good game. Not a perfect game, but he's playing a pretty good game, but also because I completely underestimated him when the season started. And I love seeing an underdog or someone who you just don't expect to do a lot come in and really not dominate, but at least come in and hold his own and play a major role in the game. They had yesterday, Michael was talking to Turner about their HOHs, and he's saying, yeah, I've had a couple of HOHs, but here's the thing, Turner. He said, in my HOHs, we got out Jasmine and we got out Terrence. Not exactly the huge strategic threats to win this game, right? He said, but in your HOH, y'all got out of Mira. We got out of Mira, who was a pretty good player, knew what was going on, had been forming a lot of alliances, a much stronger threat. So he's saying your HOH was probably a lot more impactful than mine have been so far. And I don't disagree with that. I mean, Michael's played a great game, but Turner certainly has been involved in a lot of the decision making. So I always like that. So I'll go with America's favorite as Turner, but I could easily be swayed because there's others as well. I think Monty's been playing well. I think if Monty gets to the end, he's playing very much the way last year's like Xavier did. Just kind of, he's not really leading the pack, but he's always there, always a presence. Anytime a guy who can be, he's a personal trainer and all that, someone who should very much be able to, or who should be viewed as a threat, just kind of the alpha male we hear about every year and everything. He hadn't won a lot of competitions, and as a result, he's kept the target off his back, and yet he stayed alive. He hadn't gotten taken out yet either, so I think he's doing a good job also. All right, another question. Maryland Sutherland. I hope they get Michael in a double. I think there's a lot of people in that house that are thinking the same thing, Maryland, right? They've got to get him out. And there's nothing against Michael. Again, I think he's a fantastic player. It just gets boring when the same guy wins over and over and over again. And there's a part of me that always cheers for the underdog. Michael, at the very start of the season, I felt like Michael and Brittany were underdogs. They just didn't seem like they were quite fitting in, and I was really cheering for them. Now, they're not the underdogs. Michael's a favorite. And as a result, I'm kind of cheering for people who maybe can do something a little bit different. I think getting him out in a double is one of the longer they wait, the tougher it is, because if he wins a veto, he takes himself off the block, right? Well, he's guaranteed to play in the veto, but there's still 6 people competing in this veto. You go another week or two down the road, suddenly you have 4, 5, 3 people playing veto. It's a lot harder for him not to win because there's fewer people competing in it. So every round that you wait, it's that much tougher to get him out the door. So I don't. Now the person who's getting a little bit worried. Have y'all been watching the live feeds? I saw a little bit of it today. Obviously, I watched overnight as well. The person who's getting a little bit nervous is Brittany right now. She understands that everyone is now targeting Michael, but also understanding that there's probably a lot of people who would be more than happy to put Brittany and Michael on the block together. If Michael continues his dominance, pulls himself off the block with a veto, Brittany goes up, or Brittany could easily go home, right? I think she's seeing that. She's getting a little bit nervous about it. Ma saying, what's your opinion on Brittany's havoc? Do y'all remember the very first week of Big Brother when she was they call her the backstage crew or backstage girls? I don't remember what the name was, but she was along with Alyssa and Paloma on the backstage group and at risk of going home. She was so frantic, running around, talking to everyone, trying to give so much information, make so many promises that she was so nervous about everything that she made people uncomfortable, right? And really overplayed, I think, that first week. Now, she got lucky because Paloma self-evicted and, things like, although she had safety. Brittany doesn't realize that week number 1, she was voted safety by the America votes. I still wish they told her, but I don't know if we could handle Brittany if she thought America had voted for her to have the only power that America had control over this year, right? That may have gone to her head so much. Who knows what would have happened? But yeah, I feel like Brittany's starting to kind of have a little bit of a meltdown like she did in that first week where she's gotten so frantic that she's overplaying a little bit. For those of you who don't know, and if you're new to this channel, there are spoilers involved. We're not talking about just what you saw in the episode, so be warned. But yeah, she's talking to everyone. She's talking now about this girls' alliance with her and Taylor and Alyssa, and she's gotten burned a little bit by that because it's gotten back to Michael. She's talked about all these different final twos with Turner, and she's just and Monty kind of clocked her. I don't usually use that term. I guess I'm trying to fit in with people. He kind of clocked her because he told, I think it was Turner. He said, "Look, Brittany develops relationships just to protect herself. It's not that she really wants to be in our group or protect us. She's just hoping that if she has a relationship, we'll protect her." And I feel like she's done way too much of that. She's approached too many people. With this few people in the house at this point in time, there's no chance that people aren't going to be comparing notes and that there aren't other relationships that you may or may not even be aware of. So, of course, word's gotten back to everyone else. And now who knows who can trust Brittany, who her true loyalties are, who she's just saying to protect herself. I just think that she's promised too much. She's been too active, too busy. She's ridden the Michael cart all the way this far, right? You might as well just stick with it and do that as opposed to extending too much, which I think she's done. So we'll see. It's going to be a fun Thursday because I don't know who truly has loyalties with each other at this point in time. Terry Thomas saying, "Why do they only put one 40 or 50-year-old in the house? Maybe a house full of them." Yeah, you're preaching to the choir. Absolutely. It was so hard to fit into that house just because, the music I grew up with, I grew up, I didn't have cable TV. We had 3 channels to choose from. I watched Speed Racer on a cartoons. I watched the Brady Bunch when it wasn't repeats. There you go. So, yeah, I lived a different life. I had different life experiences. I had a wife. I had grown kids. And it made it tough to fit in with everyone else. And I know there's been a lot of talk about the diversity, for example. And I think that's good. But I wish I had a little age diversity as well. Don't have just one older person. Terrence is discovering the same thing that I did, that Kevin Schlubber, that a whole lot of other folks have discovered, that it's not easy to fit in when you got 20, 30 years on everyone else. So, yeah, I don't want a house full. Although that'd be kind of cool. They'd have to slow down a few of the competitions just a little bit. Maybe have a few more mental competitions and such. But yeah, I don't want a house completely full, but give 3 or 4 of us older folks. Put us all in there together and we'd have fun. Now, everyone would expect you to form an alliance. And maybe we would, maybe we wouldn't. So yeah, I agree. I wish they'd split it up a little bit. I don't ever want to see too much of a concentration of any group, be it regional. God, my season felt like half the cast was from New Jersey, New York area, or Los Angeles, and not nearly as many in between. Split it up by age, by orientation, by ethnicity, by everything. Let's have everything you can do to split up these people as much as possible, because that's half the fun, is getting to know so many people that otherwise I would have never interacted with. So that was cool. All right, Bing Bong saying, did you hear the rumors that BB25 is a second chance season? No, I haven't heard that. Michelle Moore, did you ask that as well? No, I didn't hear that, but that's interesting. Cool. I've got mixed feelings. I really like seeing new players getting to come in and play the game, just because you don't know them. Everything's so new, and there's something cool about that. But being a former player, I'm okay with them bringing back former players every once in a while. So second chances, that's cool. I wonder what they mean by second chances. Are these people like Cameron and Glenn and some of the people who left way too early? Just take the people who were evicted the first week or so. Now, the problem is some people that left early did so, and they just didn't get a fair chance. Some of them left just because they weren't that good playing the game, right? So I wouldn't want to see just that. But yeah, it'd be nice to see people who really got, just take the people who kind of got cheated because of a weird twist, things like that, and put them in there, give another chance. Or maybe you could take the people who came close that didn't quite make it. Who could that be? Yeah, who knows? No, I had not heard that, but now you got me intrigued. That would look cool. All right, I'm going to be reading the news about that one. Amy K saying, who is best to travel to Final Two? Taylor? Oh, gosh, I don't know. It was funny because Terrence was talking to Michael, and he was talking about even someone like Alyssa. He said, now look, I know Alyssa's not, no one really looks at her, what they say in the Zing, dead weight and useless. He said, no one's really looking at her as a threat to anything. But Terrence did tell Michael, said, but she's got a lot of friends in that jury. If she's sitting in one of those final two seats, she's going to potentially have Indy's vote and Jasmine's vote. She may have Joseph's vote. She obviously is going to have Kyle's vote, and she may have one or two other people. You only need 5 votes to win. So he's saying even Alyssa potentially has some friends in there that could help her win. Would she? No, I don't think so. But I also think the only way Alyssa makes it to the final two, I think, is if she wins a competition here or two at the end and makes it to the very end because she suddenly becomes a comp beast. I don't see that happening. But if she did, a lot of people would be willing to consider that, and maybe she would get it. Who would I take? If it's straight to the final two, I just get to sit alongside anyone. I'm taking Terrence because I don't think anyone has much respect for anything that Terrence has done as far as playing the game. I think he's got a few people that have become upset with him during the season as well that would help get that vote. So if it's straight up, who do I want in final two? Guaranteed you're going to make it in. Just pick your partner. I'm going Terrence. If you're telling me right now, who would I want to match up with? Someone that I think I could probably beat, but also has a good chance to help me get to the final two. That maybe they can win a little bit here or there and back and forth. I don't know. Turner, maybe. As I said, I like Turner. He's a great guy and all that. But maybe I'd take Turner along because I feel like he can win a few competitions. But I also feel like maybe I could argue against him in a final two. Someone that's good but not great is what I'm thinking right there. All right, Cindy Hire saying, these people in the BB house sleep too much or not enough, depending on what their schedule's like, right? They were up at, I don't know, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, and they'd been outside, and I thought, all right, finally they're going to shut it down. They got alcohol and stuff last night, so I thought maybe they'll drink all that, and they'll just get tired and go to sleep. 3 o'clock comes along. I'm ready for them to go to sleep so I can go to sleep. No. Turner goes in, starts fixing breakfast burritos for everyone in the house. And next thing you know, they're all sitting around the table talking some more for another couple hours and such. And but the idea that they sleep till noon, they have dinner at 3 o'clock in the morning, they're every college student's dream, right? I've always wondered if you turned off all the clocks and just let people adjust to whatever schedule they may have. Well, because of the sun, most people would still be up during the day, you would think. But when you cut off the sunlight as well, things happen. And I've seen studies that show people tend to stay up later and sleep later. Well, that's what these house guests are doing. I've always wondered, are there psychologists who study Big Brother and what happens in that house, the stresses, how people respond, their sleep cycles, all that kind of stuff? Maybe there's too much involvement of production or something to make them worthwhile studies, but I feel like psychologists could look at some of this stuff and really use it for long missions to Mars and things like that. Yeah. Cliff Hogg, the astronaut. How did I survive 90 days in the Big Brother house? Now translate that 900 days to Mars and back or something like that. I don't know. Come talk to me, psychologists, if you want. I'll give you all kinds of crazy stories. All right. Renee Dohwaski. I tried Renee. Would be if Michael would be great. I couldn't read that. But if Michael went out in the devil, yeah, it would be there. Yeah, maybe we'll see. A lot of people are targeting him. Patty's saying he'll probably beat Janelle's record. Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, he has beaten Janelle's record for the most number of veto wins. He's tied her record for most number of wins when you combine veto and HOHs combined, because I think she still has one more HOH. If he goes home in the double, then he finishes that tied with Janelle, right? But if he survives this one, if he wins veto, or if Brittany wins HOH, now how would that be? How interesting would that be if Brittany wins HOH in the double, turns around and puts Michael on the block and does a complete blindside, here's my big resume builder. I sent the strongest guy of the house. Make me the Big Brother champion. Talking about a bunch of jaws dropping inside the house and outside. I don't think it happens. It wouldn't be a bad move for her. I think she said, I think it was her, that the problem is whoever takes out Michael immediately becomes probably the biggest target in the house. And maybe that's right. But if Brittany was to take out Michael and then immediately grab Alyssa and Taylor and say, the three of us, we got two guys, let's get them out. Yeah, because Terrence already begun. Two guys, we get them out. We'll do our final three girls deal. Suddenly, Brittany's kind of looking pretty good. I think she could probably beat Alyssa in competitions. Now, Taylor, I think, would do pretty well. Taylor hadn't won much lately, but she showed at the very beginning of the season that she can hold her own on these competitions. So, and then who does Taylor take? Does she take Brittany? Does she take Alyssa? I don't know. But talking about a huge surprise and kind of exciting evening if Brittany wins that HOH and then turns on Michael. Again, I don't think that would happen. Not saying that it shouldn't happen, though. You got to do it quick or you aren't going to do it at all. And that would be her golden opportunity. Plus, again, what a resume builder. I'm the Kingslayer, borrowing from Game of Thrones and all. I'm the Kingslayer. I took out the guy who holds the title for more than anyone else. People would respect that. She'd get a lot of credit for that. All right. Marion saying, are you still in touch with Kat? Oh, yeah. Yeah, Kat. Now, she's up in Dallas. I'm down here in Houston, so it's not like we see each other on a daily basis. She called me after one of the episodes talking about Jasmine's ankle injury and what I thought about and all that. And so we still talk every once in a while. Primarily, I talk to Kat the way I talk to the rest of the house guests for my season. I'll just text them or DM them every once in a while. I'm not the kind of guy that just picks up the phone and talks to people all the time on the phone. I do enough of that at work. So, yeah, I don't talk to them as much on the telephone, but a lot of text messages here and there. And so, yeah, I try to stay in touch with everyone in my season. And there's one or two people who've moved on from Big Brother and really aren't as interested. Nah, that's fine. But, yeah, everyone else I try to at least stay in occasional contact with. And Kat and Nicole and Ovi, and maybe Tommy or some of the ones I talk to. And David Alexander are probably some of the ones I talk to the most. Doug Nugent saying, how much do you think Michael sitting on the Kyle information for 2 weeks will hurt him in jury at final two? I think it could be huge. I do. I think, Terrence tried to use threaten to taint the jury with that information, and I get it. I kind of tried to do the same thing with Mickey during my season, saying, you made a promise. If you don't keep it, I'm gonna convince them all to vote for Holly instead of you. And it doesn't work. I knew when I made that threat, it was just Hail Mary. What else are you going to do? Otherwise, I'm going out the door. Oh, you can't do anything else to me, so I might as well make the effort. And I think Terrence was kind of the same position. I think it's much better what he did yesterday of saying, look, I'm not nearly the threat that Alyssa is. You may not think she's a threat, but she is. That's the better approach. I didn't have that option at the time, but I don't think that's an empty threat, though. I think that that when Terrence gets over there, now I've always heard that there's handlers in that jury house. Speaking of, I'm really excited to see the jury house. I hope we get to see it on Thursday. But I've always heard there's handlers over there that you're really not supposed to talk game. It's supposed to be game-free discussions while you're over there. It can't be the case, right? Surely they have opportunities to talk to each other. There can't always be handlers everywhere. So, yeah, I think Terrence, I think he's serious about it. I think he'll get over there and he's going to tell Joseph. I mean, there's two things. One, it's just the morality kind of situation. He's going to argue, that if they truly thought this was something bad that Kyle did, they should have said it 2 weeks earlier. That's them not just shows that they were weaponizing the whole issue. And so for some people, he's going to portray it like that. And I think there's people who are going to respond and think, yeah, that's not great. There's other people like Joseph. It's going to be much more straightforward. He's going to say, Joseph, you recognize or you realize, don't you, if they had said all this stuff when it first happened about what Kyle had said, suddenly we probably would have voted out Kyle instead of you. You would have been back in the house, back with Monty, and things could have been completely different for you at that point in time. So, yeah, I don't know just yet how bitter this jury is going to be versus rewarding the person who's won the most comps and all that. But Terrence is going to argue that jury management, the social games, is important as the game wins, and I think he's right. And yeah, I think, as I said last week, can you picture Alyssa sitting alongside Michael, and this jury gives the award to Alyssa instead? We thought Josh winning over Paul was a bit of a shocker. Wait till Alyssa wins over Michael, and then you're going to really see some shocked people. I think it's possible. Again, I want to see what the jury starts saying as we see people walking in the door and see how they're responding. If they're bitter, if they're happy, if they're just enjoyed the experience. I don't know. We'll find out, but I think it's possible. We'll see. All right, what else do we have on here? Anthony Stike saying, they said on the Monday morning upload that I want a monkey wrench of a monkey wrench of an Alyssa HOH. What do you think of that one? I don't know what. A monkey wrench of an Alyssa HOH. I don't. I'm trying to wrap my head around what that means. I'm not sure I'm following that statement. Tell me again, because I think I missed it. All right, let's see what else we got on here. Jim Brady, unsure how great of a player Brittany really is. She's really been riding Michael's coattails. Every time she plays on her own, she digs herself a hole. I think the curse of the superfan in some ways. Although Brittany said she hadn't listened to watched the live feeds before. I'm not sure I buy that or not. Maybe she's just telling the people in the house. But yeah, I think the curse of the superfan, she's trying to play too hard. She's trying to get too fancy at times. And you're right, it's dug a hole for her. She's talked to too many people, made too many promises, lost a lot of people. I just don't think they trust her. Several people said that yesterday around the house, saying, yeah, you can't trust her. She's dishonest. She'll tell you whatever you want to hear. She's just trying to save herself. I think that's true. But you're right also that because she has had Michael right there with her, she hasn't had to play a lot of game. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. She figured out before he won the first competition that she wanted to work with him, and it worked to her advantage. If he hadn't won so many, if he'd had to rely on her to win a few more, would things be different? Yeah, I don't think Brittany gets as far if she didn't have such a strong competitive player next to her. I don't. She's going to argue her social game is what carried her this far. No, I'm not buying it. Now, I think there's others who probably have played a little bit better social game. I think Britt Flea may be a decent, cruel, kind of mean description. Y'all know that was her BB comic, right? Britt Flea. And I mentioned on one of my morning recaps, a flea just attached, and Terrence pointed this out in the house later. A flea just attaches to something else and just gets carried along without doing a whole lot to contribute to the other person. I kind of think that's the way she's played the game. But again, if that's what gets you there, then go for it. And in some cases, you could have someone do that, and maybe this really competitive player is not the most strategic player. And if Brittany was relying on some person to win the competitions, but then Brittany was saying, we need to do this, we need to do this, well, then she could argue that she was an equal partner and all that. The difference is Michael is a huge fan. He knows how to play the game. He understands a lot of the intricacies, and he's done a lot from a relationship side as well. So she can't even argue that she's been the one in charge of the decision making while he's won the competition. So yeah, I don't think she lasts this long. I don't think she lasts nearly this long if it isn't for who she's partnered up with. All right, Holly A saying excited for the double eviction, but not excited for the live feeds afterwards. See, I was trying to remember our live feeds and how it worked. We had our double, which Nicole won the HOH, and I won the veto competition. And yeah, that was pretty cool. I enjoyed that. That was such a hectic night. Incredible. It was amazing. But yeah, after that, you typically have the HOH competition, the next HOH competition after the show's over. They come back a couple hours later. It's not necessarily a live because they've already had so much going on. And typically, I won't say typically because I don't know that this is always the case, but lots of times the backyard has been set up for a veto competition and for the other HOH competition that takes place during the double. So they don't always have a lot of room in the backyard. So sometimes they end up going off to a different location to film the next HOH. And we've talked a little bit about that before. And so normally that's not live. So we'll probably lose the live feeds for quite a while after the double eviction takes place. But it is going to be a crazy double. I hope it's going to be crazy. It's going to be something else. All right. Giando saying, super curious what Kyle is telling the jury about his eviction. Yeah, and I'm sure they're going to make that a major part of, I would think, either the Wednesday or the Thursday night episode. It could be a Wednesday night because they're going to be so busy with Thursday night with the live show and all that. So they may show that on Wednesday. I think it works better for him. It's like ripping off the Band-Aid. The last thing you want to do is say stuff without really saying it all. And then someone else comes along and corrects you. And then people are kind of looking at you. Rip off the Band-Aid. Just go in there and say, guys, here's what happened. Kyle's going to go in and say, I did this. I'm sorry. I made some assumptions that probably weren't valid. And just come clean with it. Let everyone know everything. And then you move on from there. And hopefully he's able to do that. They're able to do that. And I think life changes so much once you're out of the house. You don't have the pressure of having to be dishonest with everyone, of having to doubt and not trust anyone in the house and all that. Once you get out, everyone can be a little more open. And I hope that leads to a little bit better conversation, more conversation and everything. Yeah, I hope they work it all out and everything. But I expect to see that. But you're right. I want to see that on the episode and see just how he does handle it. I think that's what he'll do. He'll just rip off the Band-Aid, I think. All right, Mary Lynn saying, who's been your favorite player this season? Well, we talked about it. I think Turner because he surprised me, perhaps. But I've gone hot and cold. As I said before, I kind of liked Brittany and Michael early in the season because they were underdogs. Then when they weren't underdogs, I kind of stopped cheering as much for them, which doesn't mean if either one of them wins that I'm not going to be happy for them, especially Michael. Not that I wouldn't be happy for Brittany, but I think Michael's probably more deserving at this point. If they come to Hearts of Reality, let me put it this way. There's 16 house guests in that house. If any one of those 16 house guests ends up over at Hearts of Reality or some kind of celebrity get-together or viewing part or anything else, I'm going to reach out to every one of them and talk about the game and say hello and introduce myself. It's not that I try not to dislike anyone. Now, there's certainly some that are more favorites than others. But Turner probably is one of those. So I don't know. Brittany lives in Austin. She's just down the road from Houston. There's a good chance that our paths will cross before anyone else's. And when that does, I'm going to have fun talking to her about the game and what she thought and what was going through her mind and all that. There's a special connection after you get out of that house. Win, lose, like, dislike, whatever. It's going to be fun interacting with all of them. All right. Leonidas Review says, I'd love for there to be a 30-minute break between 2-hour episodes so the double would be a true surprise. Yeah, they always figure it out, right? And even this year, they knew that the season ends, I think, September 28th. I'm pretty sure that's our finale night. So they made the countdown. They realized at some point you've got to have a double to get down to the numbers that you need, and you can't really have it beyond this point in time because now we're going from 7 to 5. That's good. Going from 6 to 4. Did they do that last year? Maybe. So I guess you could have waited one more week, but yeah, everyone in the house pretty much knows it's the double. We knew it was the double during our season. Of course, we were such idiots. We thought there was a double for about 4 or 5 weeks straight. Every week, oh, this is going to be the double. It wasn't a double. Next week, it's going to be a double. Not a double. Finally, Julie says it's a double, and we're all patting ourselves on the back saying, yeah, we do it. We called it. We're such super fans. We do when the double is going to be. Yeah, broke clocks still correct twice a day, right? Yeah, but they know it. You're right. It's not really a surprise. They've worked out the strategies and everything else. Even knowing it's not a surprise, it still really hits hard when it's announced and you know it's going to happen. And you know that, heck, you could be going out of this house within the next hour or so and you're not prepared. You're not packed. It's tough. It's scary. It's very, when Nicole won the HOH in my season, that first part of that double, right then and there, I knew I wasn't going home. I hoped I wasn't going to go home. I didn't know I'd win the veto and that we would still have control over what we wanted to do, but I at least knew I wasn't going home. So that was such a huge relief. Our season was a little different from this season, though. I don't know if y'all remember, but we had voted Jessica out at the first part of the double eviction episode. So there were only 6 of us left. It was Nicole and myself, Holly and Mickey, and Christy and Tommy. So we had 3 groups of 2, and there really wasn't a whole lot of effort to try to break up those groups. I know they tried to get Nicole to turn on me, Christy and Tommy did, but it didn't work. But we kind of knew it was just 2, 2, and 2, and it was just a matter of which of those 2 were going to combine with which of the other 2. So 4 versus 2, and we were promising everything to everyone, and so that was our big deal. This week, this season, it's not so cut and dried. It's not 3 well-defined groups. It's like a cobweb, a spider web. Everyone's aligned with everyone else or making promises. You don't know who to trust, who not to trust. I wish some of these house guests in the middle of the night would go out in the backyard or go into the bathroom and look at a camera and just tell us what's really going on in their minds, who their true loyalties are, who are the ones they're just blowing smoke. Because I can't figure it out just yet. I got some guesses, but is a girls' alliance real? Is the guys' alliance real? Before last night, I would say, yeah, there's no way. Now, based on what I saw today, both of those could be in existence. It truly could. But I also don't see Michael and Brittany breaking up. So there's just a lot more interconnection this season, which is going to make that double fun because it's a little less predictable, I think, than we had. All right. Asan Sim says, what do you think about CBS following up with house guests a year later? That could be interesting. But the issue I think is that there's some house guests who, as soon as they do the show, they say, I'm done. I'm moving on to something else. I have no desire to keep up with it. And I don't know if CBS would ever want to say, well, of the 16 house guests, 12 of them or 10 of them were still interested, and the rest told us that we could just go blow smoke or something. Yeah, so I don't know. I do know every once in a while someone has come out and said, what are the house guests up to 6 months after the show or something? They did that in my season and talked about what we've been doing differently and all that. I think CBS probably figures in this world of social media, those who want to move on from the experience just drop off the social media life. The rest of us are out there probably posting way too much, and way too many people know way too much about our lives anyway. So CBS probably doesn't figure they need to mess with it anymore. But yeah, I think it'd be fun just to have. And I know COVID keeps it from happening, but they used to bring the former house guests back and host some competitions and stuff. I hope they get to do that more as we get further away from the COVID pandemic and all that. Brenda Barton saying, I hope they keep Terrence this week. I thought he was done. I said on my recaps, there's no way they're going to keep him. And now suddenly I heard Monty saying he was going to talk to Taylor, I think, about the idea of keeping Terrence instead of Alyssa, and saying that, that's going to help determine whether there's truly a girls' alliance or not. He called it a fishing expedition. He said, if they're really just intent on getting out Terrence, that's going to suggest to me that there really is a girls' alliance. If they're kind of like, we don't really care, well, then maybe that's not truly an alliance that we need to worry about. Well, don't be asking Taylor that. We already know that Taylor wants Terrence gone. She more than anyone wants Terrence out the door because Terrence was trying to get her out, and they've got a history and all that, unfortunately. So she may want Terrence gone, and that still doesn't mean that the girls' alliance is real. But there's certainly been enough talk about it. Monty and Turner and Michael got together this afternoon. It seems like they really kind of solidified that they're going to work together. So we'll see. And they're playing the game. They are playing the game. All right, Janet Johnson. Are there clocks and calendars in the house? Oh, that they should have those in the house. Well, yes and no. There's one clock in the house, and that's the clock on the stove. We use that to tell our time. The only other way that we can tell time is based on when we're woken up in the morning, because we know that it's on the hour, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, whatever. And when we're allowed to go to bed is always at 10 o'clock. So we use that to help gauge what time it is. And then when the live episode starts on Thursdays. So we do have that one clock. No calendars. We just keep track of days because that's all you do is keep track of days in that house. A lot of that. And then you have special days like Labor Day is today. And so they'll know it's Labor Day. And some of them may know then that means it's September 5th, I think. So some of that. When I was in the house, because I was always up early, I actually thought about playing with that clock a little bit. And there's one time where I set the clock ahead or behind an hour or 45 minutes or something, just to screw with the house guests. So they thought they were getting up later and all that. And I did it. And then I went back and changed it back because I thought, no, then I'm going to lose track. And then when we completely are screwed up and we don't really know what time it is, it's going to get back that I did it. And then they're all going to be mad at me. So I changed it. But I thought that would have been a fun practical joke, just to change the clock every couple of days and just shift it forward or back and see if anyone noticed. They wouldn't have noticed. I know they wouldn't have noticed, but I backed off that particular prank because people get offended at little things when you got to be careful. I played pranks, but you had to be careful about just who you were pranking and how you were doing it. All right, Cindy and Angie saying, what did you think of Zingbot last night? And didn't understand Michael's thing. What's wrong with his face? Yeah, y'all have heard me before. I'm all for criticizing gameplay. Alyssa's Zing, where they're talking about dead weight and useless, absolutely cruel and mean and everything you want from a Zingbot, right? I mean, you don't have Zingbot come in there to roast you and not do everything possible. So even though it was pretty brutal, I'm all for them doing that Zing for Alyssa. When you come in and you talk about someone's face, or even when you talk about Terrence being old, or me being voluptuous is the word they use with me, I am not for the body shaming, whatever form that may take, be it mask, be it age, whatever. It didn't offend me. Whatever. I just was like, you could have done better than that Zingbot. I wasn't offended, but there's so many more they could have done. I truly think. I wasn't big on Zingbot. I thought Zingbot kind of mailed it in this year. And call me next time. Go out on Twitter. I saw some brutal zings from a lot of people on Twitter and Instagram that CBS should have picked up and ran with. There were some good ones out there. But yeah, I think there's get away from the body stuff. I'll just leave it at that. All right, Marvin Smith saying, when will the evicted house guests start showing up and talking? Well, they'll have the jury episode now. I expect that probably to be Wednesday, if not Wednesday, Thursday. So they'll do some talking amongst themselves. They'll probably see Kyle walk in from last week. They'll show a tape of that. As far as talking beyond that, it's really the jury roundtable. As soon as they get rid of the fourth person, or they get to final four, they get rid of that fourth person. There's the final three left. It seems like normally, sometimes it's special, like on a Friday night, they'll do the jury roundtable where all the jury will get together. Someone like Dr. Will ask all kinds of questions about the final three, who should win, why they should, why they shouldn't. They'll go back and forth. And that's the next time we'll really get to see the house guests talk a lot of gameplay. Other than that, we'll just get to see little bitty clips where they're watching. What they do is they show a video of the veto, the HOH and the veto competition and the eviction, I guess. So the evicted house guest know what happened, but they don't get to see all the conversations that everyone wasn't privy to. No private stuff or anything else. So at least they just have a general idea about what happened. So we'll see some of that, but That's going to be about it for the evicted house guest. Just these little jury clips and everything. All right, Marianne saying, who would be Michael's second if Brittany's gone? That's a good one. Who would he pick up and run with? Alyssa? I don't know. Do you really? I mean, it's someone that he could easily beat, I think, regardless of what Terrence says. But she doesn't really contribute much in terms of protecting him and all of that. But we're so close to the end of the game, maybe he'd say, well, it's on me no matter what. I can almost see him going with a Turner. I mean, I feel like probably Michael thinks he could probably beat Turner on a jury vote. But he's got to be worried that, he's got to worry if he takes someone like Turner, that Turner could win an HOH, even at their very last competition, and take someone else to the final two instead of Michael. So, yeah, maybe at this point in time, if Brittany goes, because she's obviously not going home this week, right? I mean, she's not on the block, so we'll be down to 6. If Brittany went home at that point, so there's only 5 left, well, Michael could grab Alyssa, and, there's Taylor and Monty and Turner at that point. Michael may feel like he's got a decent chance to survive in that situation. So I don't know. It's kind of curious. You're close enough to the end. He may grab whoever he thinks is the easiest to beat in jury and just think the world's on my shoulders. If I don't win, they're going to send me out the door anyway. So why not just go ahead and take the easiest path I can to the jury vote? Maybe. We'll see. I hope we see. Again, nothing against any player in the house, but I just want to see some disruption. I want to see some chaos. I don't want to see Michael or Brittany win HOH, and Brittany win HOH, Michael wins veto, and it's the same old we've seen every week. I've seen that episode. I'm ready to see something a little bit different. All right, let's see. Ma, the fans should submit zings. The fans could be brutal. Oh my gosh, yeah. No, I think they should. CBS probably says something like, oh, then, copyright or trademark or something. There may be some kind of intellectual something that they don't want submissions, but I wish they could. Send it in anonymously or something. And if nothing else, it would get people's creative juices flowing just a little bit more, because we know what's going on. We can have fun with it. Now, I will say, probably half the things submitted, CBS writers would probably look at and say, yeah, no, we're not using that one. We're not using that one. Yeah, I'm sure even for Zingbot, there's a level that they just say, yeah, we're not crossing that line, because that line is incredibly mean to the house guest side. But I'd love to see it. Have a contest. We vote for different people. I'm surprised that America didn't get more chances to vote for people this season. We got it the very first week before we even knew these players. We got to vote, but I really thought somewhere in the middle of the season. Now it's too far into it. I'd kind of hate to see a vote with so few players that influences the game. But somewhere right in the middle, just as you kind of cross from pre-jury to jury, they should have given us a chance to somehow decide a little bit about how this game was happening, right? Well, didn't happen. So we'll be voting America's favorite. It looks like the only thing we'll get a say on at this point in time, I think. All right, Holly A saying, I'd keep Terrence to help get Terrence out. Let me read that again. Sorry. What does I see in there? I'd keep Terrence to help get Michael out. All right, yeah. That's a thing. Do you get rid of someone? Because I've heard talk about that as well, of, next person out could be Monty. Well, yeah, but then that means Monty can't compete to try to get Michael out. If you're someone like an Alyssa, for example, you don't want to be in the final 2 chair against Michael, right? So with that being the case, you maybe want to keep the people. Of course, she's on the block, so that's a bad example, but you know what I mean. You kind of want to keep strong players to go after other strong players, but we're so close to the end that you're running out of targets, you're running out of people and all of that. I know during my season, that was a big deal. Did we vote out Holly versus did we vote out Tommy? Was that a mistake and all that? Well, the issue was that Holly and Mickey were a showmance, which everyone says vote out the showmance, but we sat there and said, Tommy is such a strong player. We know he's going to be a beast at these mental competitions. It's too late. A few weeks earlier, we would have kept Tommy to maybe go after Mickey. And yet, even when Tommy was HOH, he would never go after Mickey, which made me think that the two of them had some kind of alliance together. At that point in time, it's like, we can't rely on other people to get out the strong players. we've got to be getting at the strong players right now, because Nicole and I sure didn't want to have a Final Four that was the two of us and Mickey and Tommy, and know that one of those two was going to be competing in a Final Three competition against the two of us. We just didn't. We saw that as a path to certain defeat, or very close to certain defeat. So yeah, we start trying to get the strongest possible when we could. And yeah, I don't know. I think you got to do the same thing now. You can't depend on holding anyone to try to get out someone else. But certainly, again, Terrence may survive yet another week. As many times as y'all realize that Terrence has been on the block. How many times? I don't know. Alyssa, this will be the first time she's actually on the block on eviction night. She's kind of skated through a little bit, which sometimes happens when no one sees you as a threat. But now she gets to deal with it. If Terrence survives yet again, Alyssa goes home the first time she's on the block on eviction night. That'll be interesting. We'll see. All right, Michelle and Vicky Stone saying, are there any more goodbye messages? Yeah, they're still leaving them. They just, I think, in the interest of time, are not necessarily showing them. Have they been shown? I'm trying to remember the last one when Kyle went out the door. Yeah, they still do them. I know when I was evicted, I got goodbye messages from Nicole, incredibly nice. Holly, which was nice, playing the jury management game. And then Mickey just blasting me, just showing that he had zero regard for the jury management phase of the game. He almost lost my vote. He came so close to losing my vote based just on that goodbye message. I mean, I've seen people post say, the votes are already decided before you ever have finale night and all that. No, not in my case. I was going back and forth a lot. And his goodbye message, it wouldn't have mattered anyway. Still would have won by one vote, but he came close. Those goodbye messages mean a lot. They truly do. So yeah, they still have the goodbye messages going on. We just don't necessarily always see them because there's so much happening. Now, there's some things like this double eviction. Christy didn't get any goodbye messages because she didn't know she was going home. She was the second half of a double. And they don't ever come along and say, okay, Christy got evicted. Do y'all want to leave a goodbye message for her after the fact? Nah, if you go in a double, you just don't get your messages, but everyone else is still going to get them. All right, Donkey Donk 127 saying, how is no one seeing how close Michael and Brittany are, including Taylor? I agree. How could you not see it? Now, I know as viewers, we get the full scope of everything that's going on, which is such a huge difference compared to them in the house. But I know last night, Michael and Brittany talked for a long time, and at one point after Brittany left, Michael said, I'm gonna have to stop meeting her like this. We spent too long talking. It's gonna look very sketchy. Well, who cares? You got to know that these two are connected, right? Maybe not so much. And Brittany's been telling everyone that, oh, I'm happy coming in second place, and now she's saying, oh, I'll cut him loose, Taylor. Yeah, well, let's get rid of him at Final Three and all that. They don't understand how tight they are, and you're right. I would think if I was in there, I'd be pointing at those two, because I know during my season, I knew who was tight. I knew Christy and Tommy were tight. Of course, I knew all the showmances were tight, but I feel like I knew who was tight with each other and who wasn't. And it would seem like those two would be absolutely obvious, but I guess they're missing it. Good job to them if they've been able to hide it. I don't know how they have. 7:57. Ma saying, when do you record your goodbye messages? We typically record them the night before, if I recall. They'll just call you to the diary room. Cliff, come to the diary room. You get in there and say, all right, Cliff, do you want to do some goodbye messages? Well, no, but yeah, sure, I'll do it. And they'll always say, well, start with whoever you want, talk as long as you want, do not worry, just whatever you want to say it. And so some people apparently just talk 20 minutes. I don't know how long, talk a long time. Because some of these goodbye messages, you can see how they just cut and splice and take a sentence here, a sentence there, put it together. I never did that. I always had my goodbye message pretty much rehearsed in my mind, because I didn't want them cutting out bits and pieces to put something else, make the intent seem something different. I didn't want to have some person that I was actually friends with, but I said like one negative thing. Well, then that's all they show. So I always had mine sketched out, and my goodbye messages were always just 30, 45 seconds long. They were pretty quick. So I'd say, oh, Bella, loved having you in your house, but I couldn't trust you. And so, friends at the end or what. So I tried to do it like that. But some people would go in there and talk for a long time. Now, here's the other thing. There was a time or two between when I did my goodbye message and when we had the eviction that I changed my mind about some of the stuff I wanted to say. And so I'd go into the diary room and say, hey, can I change my goodbye message? Yeah, Cliff, what do you want to say? Just let's do it again. And so I would do a different goodbye message. But once you've put the first one out there and they've recorded it, you have no guarantee if they're going to use the first one or they're going to use the second one or they're going to combine the two somehow. You just don't know at that point in time. It's all up to production, what they want to do. And I think that's what happened with Mickey and why I gave him a little bit of a benefit of the doubt, because I figured that one goodbye message was probably done right after I threatened to poison the jury, and they got him down there knowing that he would just blow up. And I think he gave that goodbye message. He did another one later that was a nicer one, but of course they chose to use the mean one. So yeah, they can still manipulate a little bit, but they just call us in the night before and we start talking away. All right, 7:59. Wow, so quick. All right, can you eat all the food that you want? As long as it's there. I mean, a lot of foods, once it runs out, that's it. You have to wait to the next week before it shows up. But yeah, there's no restrictions other than that. If I eat all the eggs in a house, the other house guests may be a little upset at me. So we do show some restraint. But other than that, and you only get what they bring in. You can't make special requests or anything. But yeah, beyond that, they never limit us saying, oh, you're only allowed this much per day or 1 gallon of milk. Yeah, it's just however you wanted to ration it out and everything else. And so that's how we did it. All right, guys, 7:58. It goes so quick when you do these things. It's been so much fun doing this show, answering questions and all that. Just getting to talk about Big Brother 24. I'm excited for the double. It's going to be great. But until then, guys, first of all, I didn't say this at the beginning, but I'm going to say right now, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel and turned on notifications, please do, because not only this show, but also my morning recaps that I drop every morning. You'll get updates as soon as they publish, so that's cool. And you can give it a thumbs up while you're out there as well. I always appreciate that. But certainly, please subscribe, sign up, subscribe, turn on the notifications as well. And as I mentioned, if you go very up to the top, you'll see the link to my Hearts of Reality fundraiser. I'm always appreciative. I don't charge anything for these shows. I do it out of a labor of love. But if you got a little money, coffee money, things like that, and you can throw a little bit towards the kids, it's certainly a deserving cause. A+ rated charity. It's all above board fantastic. I always appreciate that. And the link's at the very top. Beyond that, guys, SKD 143. I hope y'all enjoy y'all's Monday, the last little bits of Labor Day. Enjoy the rest of Big Brother. I'll be back tomorrow morning with my evening recap of what happened overnight. So we'll talk all about the conversations. So for those of you who are out there for that, it'll be just a few hours from now. The rest of y'all, I'll see y'all next Monday. Until then, I'll do it again. SKD 143. Cheers, my friends. Talk to y'all later.